Good morning. Good morning, family. This is Coach Charlene. You are loved and appreciated. And I, of course, needed to come live because my little quote that I put last night, Lord, deliver me from myself. Yes, I wanted to talk about that just a little bit because this is such a challenging area. I don't know. Um, how old you are, where you are in your life, but one thing that I notice is that self sabotage is so real. You can be doing great, you can be excelling, you can be catapulting to different places, and then all of a sudden, then you show up. You know, I'm talking about the you that likes to speak self doubt and things like that. But anyway, I was just kind of pondering on these thoughts, and a quote kind of passed through me. So I just want to give you a little bit of encouragement for this morning, or a little assessment for this morning. And it says, you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it. You get it? You cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it. Now, that is a powerful statement. A lot of us, we get challenges, we get problems, and we try to change it with our same mindset. But I am encouraging you today, if you keep bumping your head doing the same thing, you have to change your mindset. And I was looking at, I think I was listening to Dr. Miles Monroe, and he was talking about how independence doesn't really set you free. You are delivered, and independence does not necessarily mean freedom, because you can be free from a situation or a person, but still be captive in your mind, or allow that person to hold you in bondage. Any of you out there that have ever had to deal with forgiveness, which is all of us, or unforgiveness, I should say, you can be free of that person, but that person can still have a hold of your mind. Matter of fact, that's what actually happens with unforgiveness is somebody can do you wrong, something can go south, and then you're done with the situation, but you're really not, because you're still allowing that person to steal power from you. You're still allowing that person to actually hold you in bondage where you can't even move toward your goals. So be careful with that. Bondage, actually, when we really think about it, because a lot of us have been in bondage for so long. I mean, you're thinking, once you have a mental transformation, meaning you accept Christ, you have been you your whole life. And some people get saved at 50 years old, 20, whatever year that is. But at that point, you're talking about, like, for me, I think I was kind of young. I was only 12 when I actually received Jesus as my Lord and Savior. But it took me a whole lifetime to transform, because when I got older, I started doing things my own way. It wasn't about surrendering to nothing, surrendering to um, what I wanted to do. That's really what it was. But when you finally understand that you need to be delivered from yourself, because what you are working on and what's going on, it is not working. You keep kind of circling the drain, going from place to place, going in a circle, not really heading anyone. Anywhere. It's kind of like the rat race. You're just on this wheel and you're just spinning and spinning, because you really need to be delivered from yourself. And so I'm not saying that it's easy, because it's not. I got to check me every day, because Charlene wants to have an attitude. She wants to. I'm telling you, it's really a trip, because there's three. If you're experiencing any frustration, I was rereading one of my favorite books, Wake Up, It's Time to Dream. And Coach L was talking in that book about there's three different things. Like when you get frustrated, there's three barriers that we experience. When frustration happens, you can kind of fork it out to these three things. Good morning, Anthony. You can have um, situational blocks, interpersonal blocks, and intrapersonal blocks. And those situational blocks are those things that kind of just happen. They happen. Some you have control of, some you don't. but they're situations that just happen and they cause frustration. They're also called dream barriers. And then another one is interpersonal blocks. Interpersonal blocks is when we allow people to block the assignment, the vision, the goal that we're setting for ourselves. That's interpersonal blocks. And then the last one is intrapersonal blocks, and that is that enemy within. This is the person that I'm telling you about today that needs to get delivered from himself. I was looking at I think it's Matthew 16:24, and that's one of my favorite, but in the message translation, it says, then Jesus went to work on his disciples. And he said, anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You are not in the driver's seat. I am. And it says, don't run from suffering. Embrace it. What? Embrace it. Follow me, and I'll show you how. Because self help is no help at all. Self sacrifice is the way, my way, to finding yourself, your true self. And so when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh. So that means that many of us have been driving. I mean, he's been there all along, ready to lead and guide you. But we continue to take the steering wheel and say, well, no, I don't really want that. That's making me uncomfortable. So I'm going to choose to go another way. See, you need to be delivered from yourself. When God is setting us up for things, sometimes we're not going to understand. When He tells you to start a business and you just bounce the check, that makes no sense in the natural mind. So, my point is, we have to get used to being uncomfortable when He tells us to do something and take that step of faith and that step of obedience. Even if we don't understand it, we got to get to the point of trust where we can just launch out and we can just do it. Because if we don't, we're going to continue to have self sabotage in our life. We're going to continue to allow intrapersonal blocks to stop us. And that's the biggest one that can stop you, because really, truly, interpersonal blocks, that shouldn't be, although it holds a lot of people back because it's hard for them to get delivered from people. Um, intrapersonal blocks is the one, that's where the self-work has to happen. That self-work is critical for us. I have to be transformed in the renewing of my mind. I have to, because if I don't, my old Egypt mindset, my mindset that was surrounded around self-concept, low self-esteem, low self-confidence, low, all of that, you remember, because a lot of that stuff is birthed when we're younger, when we start recognizing or experiencing the world around us, and then we begin to get shut down. It could be by parents, it could be by close friends, authority figures. They begin to tell you, or relationships. People tell you how you look and you'll never do this, and all of the negative talk. And that's what we carry with us if we are not transformed. We need to be reconditioned, transformed by the renewing of our mind, because we've been conditioned to operate in a certain way. And so the way that we operate is really not going to be enough for this new season, for this new dimension that God has you. And you're going to have to be bold, daring, courageous, ready to disrupt some things that are not the same. I mean, that are not okay, that are mediocre. And you're going to not be able to say, well, this person did so and so to me. You know what? It's not about people at this point. Let's get delivered. See, if I get delivered from myself, then I get delivered from people, because then people's opinion does not mean anything to me necessarily. If you know what I mean, I mean, you want to be kind and things like that, but sometimes those unrealistic expectations that people put on us, that causes us to shrink back, that causes us to lose power, that causes us to give up, that causes us to stay stuck right in this cul-de-sac. No, the type of leadership that is called for this end time is a bold, a daring leadership, one that takes it by force, even with yourself, even you checking you, even you causing you to check yourself, look in the mirror, and say, you know what, Charlie, you got a really bad attitude today. You got to get it together. Transforming your mind. When you feel that uneasiness, when you know that God is pushing you to fulfill your destiny, to jump into the things that He's called you to do, when you feel that uneasiness and you don't want to do it because you've never been there before, I'm telling you right now, the Holy Spirit has been there and He's trying to get us to a different place because we can't depend on what we see around us, for we look not at the things which are seen. Because I'm telling you, when I look at the things that are saying, when I look at the news, when I look at what's happening in the world, and I look at all of the things that are around me, my eyes can become a trap for me. It can become a trap because then I start looking and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. What type of world are we living in? But I gotta take my eyes off it, not ignore what's going on. You be knowledgeable, you find out what's going on, but then what am I gonna do with that which I just seen? What I'm going to do with that which I just seen is to focus in on what my assignment is. My assignment is what brings me fulfillment. My assignment in me knowing that I'm walking in the path that the Lord has laid for me because our steps are ordered, but are we walking in those steps? And a lot of times we're not walking in those steps, and that's what produces the frustration that I just talked about with the situational blocks, the interpersonal blocks, and the intrapersonal blocks. But get delivered from you first so that you won't allow people to be a trap for you. Because I guess I'm saying that again because I find that so many people become hostage to other people's opinions, hostage to other people's expectations, hostage to all of that. And so that's why it's very important for us to get delivered from ourselves. Get with your manufacturer. I'm telling you, because look what it says. I'm going to give you one more, then I'm going to be done because I need to go save some babies. I got to find something. Oh, okay, here it is. I was reading, of course, Romans 12 in a different translation. It's the message. He said, this is what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life. You're sleeping, you're eating, you're going to work, you're walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out, readily recognizing what He wants from you and quickly responding to it, unlike the culture around you always dragging you down to its level of immaturity. God brings the best out of you, and He develops well formed maturity in you. Oh, I thank God for that. I thank God that I don't have to fit into the customs of the world. I can fit into His kingdom culture, and that culture is a culture of love. And His love really contends with us for our highest good in every situation until it becomes a manifestation. That's a quote from Coach L. Hollisworth. I love that quote because God does contend with us. Think about Paul. Paul was like, man, every time I go to do right, then evil is present. Every time I make a decision, to do something, I always work against myself and do the opposite of what I had said that I was going to do. See, Paul was struggling. He was struggling with the flesh because he couldn't make the decisions. And every time he tried to make a decision, then evil or his evil thoughts or his bad attitude or his wrong judgments tended to overshadow Paul. And that's why he said he had to be renewed. He had to have an encounter with his manufacturer so that he can be renewed by the spirit of his mind. He can do the work that needed to happen for him to be a totally different man. And that's really where we are. And we have got to more than ever get into his presence to find out, what am I going to do in this season, Lord? I don't like what I see on the outside. And then God's going to say, I told you not to look at the things which are seen because those things are temporary. I want you to look at what I'm doing in your life. I want you to line up and make sure that you have your assignment is being completed while you still have breath in your body. Now, a copy adapts to the world, but an original makes the world adapt to it. So become an original, become the authentic you that God created you to be, and then people will adapt to what you are doing. Okay, all right. I've talked enough. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I see all you guys. Hi, Dodie. Hey, Sheila. Hi, Jennifer. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.